HR 838, which is called the TAPS Act. The TAPS Act, which is short for Threat Assessment, Prevention, and Safety Act of 2019. And this is House Resolution 838. It's been put on the table by Representative Brian Babin of Texas. So he's a Republican representative, put this on the table. This is not good. That's all I can say. This, in my opinion, this is not a good thing, and because we're being lied to about this. What is it? Right now, it's been referred to Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security as of March 25th, so it's still in committee. We need to make sure that we are contacting our congressmen and our senators that we do not want this. I mean, they gave us the NDAA, which has taken a lot of freedoms from us, the Patriot Act, which has affected our own liberties within the United States. Well, this is going to take it to another level with HR 838, the TAPS Act. On this article from, let's see, this is from the libertybeacon.com, libertybeacon.com. And it was contributed by Chris Ann Hall, who is an attorney. And it says this, that the test of the TAPS Act is not the solution to gun violence. Many members of Congress are professing it to be. The unlimited and arbitrary authority of this act bestows upon a bureaucracy of 24 people, combined with the language of doublespeak and contradictions, creating loopholes, allowing completely unsupervised and unchecked authority, is reminiscent of the Sedition Act of 1798. So here's a summary. The TAPS Act will create a brand new bureaucracy under the authority of the Department of Homeland Security. A non-elected bureaucrat is authorized by Congress to appoint 23 other non-elected bureaucrats to invent the authority for federal and state government agents to identify individuals who are exhibiting patterns of concerning behavior, and then to manage those Americans. The sole purpose of this bureaucracy of 24 will be to create state and federal policy or policing bodies ruling over the perceived behavior of the American people. KGB-style agencies not only monitoring the behavior of Americans, but also functioning as judge, jury, and executioner. So what they're going to do is, what it's proposing to do is have this bureaucracy come up with a way where they can figure out who is a good individual and who's an individual who is exhibiting patterns of concerning behavior. What is that? Well, the act does not define what concerning behavior is. Of course, part of it is that we had these recent shootings in El Paso and up in Dayton, Ohio, where we've had other shootings down in Florida and going all the way back to Columbine, where you have concerning individuals who have these patterns of behaviors, and they want to predict what they might do and stop it before it's happening. Kind of like Minority Report, pre-crime bureaucracy where there is no oversight. It is just bureaucratic. So depending on who's in there, it could be some people in there that are people who have a very progressive leaning, and that I'm using that term, progressive leaning, because those are going to be like the Barack Obama types who want to take our individual liberties and say, look, someone said that there's a problem that you may have this behavior about you like to shoot guns. Well, that's scaring your neighbors. So we're going to look into this. And then they bring you up on these charges where there is no jury, there's no judge. They just simply label you and then begin to take away your freedoms. It's actually will go against the First, the Second, the Fourth, the Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, Eighth, Ninth, and 10th Amendments without due process. Of course, the Fourth Amendment is the biggie here, where they come in and they judge you without due process, where you don't have without a warrant. Then they come in and they can arrest you, they can put you away, they can go through your house, they can do all sorts of different things. Let's go on. Once a federal or state agent has identified an American believed to be interested in some kind of concerning behavior, Section 3, 2B authorizes the bureaucracy to empower these agents to investigate and gather information from multiple sources. Sources remain undefined in this act. On this, individual American defined articulable facts. Okay, not evidence, but articulable facts supporting whether this person is truly exhibiting an interest in committing concerning behavior. The Fourth Amendment requires government to obtain a warrant based upon probable cause, not articulable facts, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the places to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Under the Fourth Amendment, it is impossible for this task force to empower any government agent to do what Congress has authorized it to do. But the act makes no mention of the Fourth Amendment or the government's requirement to respect and secure the rights of the people. So in the same, according to this section, after the agent has complied with its articulable facts, in other words, someone just brings up a complaint. Well, their complaint, it now becomes a fact just because they said it. By circumventing the Fourth Amendment's requirement on government, the bureaucracy will empower the government agent to manage the threat of the concerning behavior. There is no definition within the act for the word manage. However, the powers of the task force are defined as follows. Any member of the task force may, if authorized by the task force, take any action which the task force is authorized to take by the section. So while there's no guidelines created by Congress on how this bureaucracy is supposed to define, manage, or identify the behaviors of the Americans of the act, the act establishes that the task force will create its own guidelines and best practices in order to devise a national standard of action. Therefore, it seems indisputable through sections 2 and 4 that any member of the task force can create any power for the agents to take any action it chooses to, as long as the task force will establish the guidelines to practice such. Okay, let me just boil it down. Basically, it comes down to this. The only oversight is they got to this task force has to report once a year what they're doing. The other thing is here's the issue. Your kid is at school. Your kid may say, "Oh, Dad's got a handgun that he goes to the firing range," and the teacher can say, "Well, how do you feel about that?" "Well, that gun kind of scares me." Well, now that teacher can now report the parent to the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy says, "Oh, this could be an issue, especially if you're living in a blue city, a blue state, where you have all sorts of liberals that hate guns." Will come and say, "You've got a household that is dangerous to this child. We're going to come in, and we're going to put you through an interrogation, psychological review, and we're going to take your guns." Because you're a concern, you have concerning behavior because you have a handgun or you have an AR-15 or something like that, and the kid can be taken away. By the way, yeah. So this will standardize and provide a behavioral threat assessment and management process across the federal government. It will provide states the training, resources, and support needed to stand up community-based, multidisciplinary behavioral threat assessment and management units, recognizes the behavioral threat assessment and management processes must become part of the culture and fabric of contemporary law enforcement. In other words, pre-crime will become part of the fabric of contemporary law enforcement. And it urges that this matter of national security, it's urgent that we address this matter of national security. If we act now and work together, we can save lives. So recently, there was something that happened where a man, and this is using the red flag laws. This is taking those red flag laws and taking it to the next level, essentially. And a man was brought up, and so law enforcement came to confiscate his firearms. And so he gets this knock on the door. He doesn't know who it is. So they've got the SWAT team that came, and he opens his door, and He's defending his home because he doesn't know who it is, and he gets shot and killed. Another one is, and this is from Dana Loesch from her tweet, about how red flag laws at work just last week. A man had his firearms confiscated simply because he had the same name as a criminal, had to bear the full legal cost a month later to defend himself in court. He had to go to court to say, I'm not that guy. And so these are some things that red flag laws are already showing us. We're taking this new law, HR838, if it passes, and if President Trump were to sign it into law, it takes the red flag laws to a new level, puts it on steroids, essentially. So that's it. What are y'all thinking about that? Have you, Darryl, I mean, you're living up there in Canada. You've walked through these things where guns, you don't have the freedom of owning a gun like we do here in the United States. What do you think about this? You may want to unmute.
Yeah. Well, it's it's thought control, and they're putting things in place for us so that we can be taken out and removed on a whim. I did an article a couple of months ago on the 7 Noahide laws. And for those who don't know, the 7 laws of Noah are a Talmudic concept that Jews need to keep Torah. Gentiles, in order to be righteous with God, need to keep these 7 laws of Noah. They're not biblical. They're rabbinical. And most people don't know, but George Bush Sr. invoked these things into law back in 1991. So instead of the United States having as its foundation the 10 Commandments, now you've got the 7 laws of Noah. And what the 7 laws of Noah do is they say that for violating any of these, now 5 of them are sort of associated with the 10 Commandments, except how they define them is completely different, like the laws of blasphemy. According to, of course, the rabbis, if you proclaim Yeshua as God, then you're committing blasphemy. The punishment for violating any of the 7 Noahide laws is death. It's a death penalty. But the means for the death penalty is decapitation. And this has already been put into place for the United States. So we're moving quickly toward that. But the biggest thing is that the 7th of the laws is to set up courts of justice. Within those courts of justice, you only need one witness. One witness, one judge.
Which is not biblical.
No, it's not biblical because...
Yeah, you need 2 or 3 witnesses. But
by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. You need at least 2 witnesses, not according to the 7 Noahide laws. And so if you have someone who comes and makes an accusation against you, I mean, it's the same thing that Jezebel did. Now, Jezebel went and got 2 witnesses when, she wanted to get Naboth's vineyard for Ahab. So she put a conspiracy together and had 2 witnesses say and make an accusation against him, and then they took him out and stoned him. With the 7 Noahide laws, you don't even need 2 witnesses. All you do is need 1 witness who can lie. You got 1 sympathetic judge, and off you go, and then you get your head lopped off. So when we look in the book of Revelation in chapter 19, where it says that all those who lost their head for the sake of the gospel, it's not only going to be the Muslims, it's going to be the Orthodox Jews that are going to be committing this kind of stuff in the tribulation period. Most people don't know this stuff. So what we're getting toward with all these laws, and the specifics of the law doesn't really matter. We can so get bogged down in the details, HR5, this, that, and the other thing. It's all for the same purpose. It's to move us to the point where we become the enemies of the state. They're making it easier and easier and easier to round us up and to get rid of us without it being a bother. See, before, if, 20, 30 years ago, in order to get someone falsely accused of something, you really had to work at it. Now, it's not a big deal. We just keep wearing away the fabric of the Constitution, or here in Canada with the, we've got our own Constitution, of course, with the Bill of Rights. And as long as the state gets more and more power, it becomes easier and easier to do what it wants with the people. Because when you have a totalitarian state, then in ancient Rome, when they transitioned from a republic to an empire, and Julius Caesar was really the first one who kind of put this into place, and he was executed for it. But by the time you get to Augustus, he was a benevolent leader. He was actually a very good leader. He knew when to use the hammer and when it didn't. But then when you get a weak leader that comes in with all this power, he's going to go crazy. And so we saw that over and over, where you had Caligula, who was, moonbat crazy, and then Nero, the same thing. These guys were killing people left, right, and center. And it's the same thing, in modern day. If you look at people like Joseph Stalin, if you look the wrong way, Stalin had you executed. That's where we're heading with all of this. And so we just need to realize that things are moving very, very rapidly in the United States, especially in order to bring in the communist agenda so that they can get rid of us as quickly as possible. And we're going to be number 1A on the list to remove, because we stand for truth and they can't have truth.
And that, that's exactly right. Because if you go back in one of the articles that I read when I was reading up on this, was talking about, it says this: in case you're wondering who will get on this list, to start, check out the new definition of a domestic terrorist. And so if you go back to the FBI, actually has a publication who domestic terrorists are, and you can always go all the way back to the Obama administration, and you can say anybody that's pro-life is a domestic terrorist. Anybody that has conservative values can be that way. If you own a gun and you go to a gun range regularly, you can be considered a domestic terrorist. There's a lot of different definitions that they've really broadened it up. They just throw anybody under the bus with this one, and where we can really lose our rights with. So, Mark, what are your thoughts?
So if they come to my door, this is how I would react.
I could have killed you. Been telling you the law. Out here it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it. I'll give you a war you won't believe.
And
go ahead. Make my day.
And so go ahead, come to my door. I'm ready for you. There you go. There you go.
We have the big guns there.
There you go. In other words, I'm ready for you. Come on.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Tova says, "Pry from my cold dead fingers."
That's right. That's right. No, I'm with y'all. I got nothing to really add to any of that at all. It's just just be ready to defend yourself and do what you get. You want a war? I'll give you a war. You go ahead and make my day. Come on. Let's do it.
So apparently what they're going to do is they're going to take this committee. There'll be one in Washington bureaucrat, and then these 23 others, and then it's going to just whittle down. So down to the states, to the counties, to the cities, and everybody's going to have somebody responsible. And then they're going to pull in some psychologists, probably some teachers, different people like that will contribute to the list. And that's what's very scary, is like, who are these people? It might be okay, if you have certain trustworthy people, but honestly, we can't trust anybody. We cannot trust government we cannot trust government at all. And so when I say it might be okay, actually, it's just never okay. It's never okay. It's a violation of basically our entire Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. But I wanted to bring this up. Just want everybody to be aware of this. Make sure you let your congressman know there is quite a popularity, bipartisan popularity Democrats and Republicans that are wanting this. It's got to go through the Senate, and the Senate is kind of precarious because everybody, when we have all these shootings, it's about shifting the focus, shifting that Overton window to where we think, well, maybe we need more controls. No, if they keep throwing stuff at us with kind of controlled actions, it is meant to change our mindset to where we would be more accepting of this. And the Patriot Act is something that's happened in the past. It changed our mindset with 9/11 to give up some of our freedoms for security. And now we have to take our shoes off at the airports just to go through the metal detector. I mean, give me a break. These are just things that's just going down a slippery slope. That slope's getting slicker along the way. That's all I have to say about that. Let's jump on to the next segment as we wrap it up today. And Mark, you've got the Brit Hadashah.
We're good, brother. We're tight on time, and I need to go.
Okay.
At 11 anyway. I've got somebody coming over, so we'll do it next week.
Okay.
You want to know what the Brit Hadashah is? Just go over there and find it and read it. There you go.
There you go. All right. Well, that's good. Well, some interesting things. Great discussion here with the Torah portion and with and just thinking about these things that we got to be involved with. I like to bring these things up because if we don't bring it up, who's going to bring it up? And I mean, I didn't know about it until I read this article, and then I started doing some more research on it. And that's the same thing with that House Bill 5, Mark. If it just hadn't come across my feed or come across my path, how many of us just wouldn't have known about it? And these things are there to take away our freedoms. I
totally agree. And so many people already don't know about it. And that's what's vital. It's just unreal to me. It's got to get the word out. You got to share those videos. You got to share that information, even if you just know a little about it.
Yes. Yes, that's right.